reception was super fun. It was a great time. It was great seeing family that came in from all over. But I am a little tired, even though it's Thursday. It's Thursday. But I feel like I still have a social hangover, which if you're more on the introverted side of the spectrum, you understand what social hangover means. So I feel like my nervous system has been a little discombobulated this week, and I've also been upset about some other things, like just all the stuff coming out about, bad people hurting children and whatnot. It's really, really, really getting to me, and I'm sad. Not gonna lie, I'm sad, and I'm fucking angry. It makes me really angry. Also, if you see orbs flying around, like over here or whatever, it's dust. Okay, relax, it's dust. It's not an orb. Anyway, I'm gonna be reading some Let's Not Meet stories for you, so get ready, get comfy, do whatever you gotta do, and let's get into the stories. Oh hey. So it's a different night. I tried filming this last night, and I must have done the intro around 5 or 6 times. Like, I would film a little bit, and then I'd be like, no, I don't like this, and then I'd delete it, and then start over, and it happened a lot, and finally I was like, no, this is not happening tonight. So, here we are. I think I left off as I was just about to read the first story or something, so Let's Not Meet stories, here we go. The first one is called The Swaying Person. Right off the bat, I'd like to say that this incident is one of few that have truly stuck with me. Although this took place in January of the previous year, it definitely keeps me awake at night. It seems surreal to me that so many weird things happen to people on a daily basis, and I'd never imagine them happening to me either. Anyways, I was staying abroad due to college, and there wasn't a single thing that had irked me or creeped me out. I lived in a relatively populated area. There were a lot of young women in my apartment and even older women, so I felt safe in my own home. Walking the streets was also safe since there were always people around. There were apartments, parks, houses, those full-time 7-Elevens, and small cafes. I'm pretty sure there was a small motel too. Regardless, it creates a pretty decent image of the area. Although the university taught the lessons in English for all the foreign students, I still wanted to learn the language, to respect and experience the culture. It was fun, and I made quite a few friends in those classes. One day I was walking to a convenience store from the class. I remember being quite dazed and tired. It was around 8 p.m. The class ended a while back, but since I had the once-in-a-lifetime leisure time, I decided to explore the place. I knew my way around, and I was feeling pretty confident about the routes and all. As time passed, I reached this giant road with some empty plots to the right. Don't get me wrong, it was a residential area, and I could even hear noises from a couple of them. Now this is where it gets a little weird. There's a bunch of houses, but as you keep walking towards the city and all the hustle bustle, there's this entire secluded area of just road and street lights. The convenience store was about 14 kilometers away. I was feeling uncomfortable and very nervous. Because of a previous incident, I had decided to stop and look around. There was nothing, but I decided to start jogging further, while looking side to side and back a little too. Not even 30 seconds pass and I bump into someone. I felt a feeling of dread rush over me, and my hair just stood up. My palms started shaking, and I didn't even lift my head up to see who it was. I apologized like crazy, simultaneously backing away and getting ready to fucking bolt out of there like I was in the damn Olympics or something. The person came in front of me, started walking towards me in little steps, and started moving in this weird almost like a cartoon, and while swaying, the person just said, "What the fuck? What are you? Are you okay?" with this arrogant tone. I say person because I genuinely couldn't tell if this person was a man or a woman. Their face was covered by a mask and they wore a large hoodie with sweatpants. The voice was sort of muffled but didn't sound masculine or feminine. The person started swearing and doing the weird swaying motion while reaching in their pants pocket. I saw a glimpse of something shiny and my instincts that so conveniently died out kicked in. I took the chance and fled the damn place. I went to the store and told the clerk. They called the police, who found 2 fucking shoes on the same spot. Along with the shoes was the mask, apparently. I never found out who it was, what they wanted, and how I never saw them lurking around in the empty plots. There were no bushes and the light wasn't that scarce either, but I'm glad I'm safe. Me too. The next one is called I Listened to My Gut Feeling. As you should. This was about 5 years ago and it still creeps me out. I was 18 at the time, I'm now 23. I was walking home from work at the local pizza joint and took my usual route home. It was about 9:45 to 10:15 and it was super dark. As I'm getting about 100 yards away from the street I live on, a white van turns onto that street. Nothing suspicious, but something didn't sit right with me, so I yanked out my earbuds and paused my music. I then turned down my street, and as I'm getting closer to my house, I started getting a weird gut feeling. I look up from my phone as I was about to text my roommate, who was out of town at the time, that I was almost home. As I look up, I notice the white van sitting in front of my house, and the man inside is just staring at me, the yellow car light shining on his face. He had brown hair, glasses, and facial hair. His van lights were off, but his car was running. I stopped and put my back to a tree in my neighbor's yard and just stood there, maintaining eye contact with this man. After about what seemed like an eternity, probably like 5 minutes minimum, he starts driving towards the stop sign at the end of the road. I didn't put my back to him. I kept my back to the tree and maintained a visual on the van the entire time until it stopped at the stop sign. He just sat there for probably 2 to 3 minutes, all while I'm not looking away and my back's still on the tree. Finally, he turned right, the direction in which I had come from, and after about 20 seconds of making sure he or anybody else wasn't coming, I bolt to my house. I quickly get inside and lock the door. I go to the window and very quietly look through the blinds. I didn't turn on any lights because I'm not stupid. After a few seconds of looking, he drove back up and down the street and left again. Afterwards, I texted my roommate what happened and then went to each and every one of the windows in my house to make sure they were locked, along with the back door and garage door. I made sure to keep all lights off for the remainder of the night. I didn't sleep at all that night. I was so paranoid at every sound or movement. Let's just say I never walked home after that. To the man in the van, let's not meet again. The next one is called Man Claimed He Was From the Police. I had to switch sides. I wasn't liking that angle. This is a story that pops back up in my mind from time to time. It's for sure one of the scariest moments I've ever had as a child. Back when I was around 10 years old, my mom finally decided it was time for her to get her driver's license. When she began taking lessons, she was struggling a lot. For that reason, my dad decided that he wanted to do some practice with her besides the official driving lessons with her instructor, just to make sure that she'd pass the upcoming test on the first try. My little brother and I were attending swimming lessons at this nearby university at the time. Behind a forested area near the university lays this huge student parking area, surrounded by trees, which turned out to be basically empty every weekend. My dad said he saw the opportunity to take my mom here to drive around for a bit and brought my little brother and I with them, since we were too young to stay at home. We brought a football with us. When we arrived to the parking lot later on in the evening, my parents began their practice. My little brother and I quickly got bored though and asked if we could go over to this little grass field on the side of the parking lot to play some football. My parents let us since they had always be able to keep their eyes on us whilst driving around. After playing for some time, my parents ended up driving around in the other end of the parking lot. They were approximately 300 to 400 meters away from my brother and I. Suddenly, this white Toyota pulls into the parking lot. We were playing almost right at the exit/entrance. The car turns around and stops on my right side with the vehicle facing the exit. The driver rolls down his window and presents himself as Thomas. He looked friendly, was good looking, and young. A guess would be around 30. This is where things started to get weird. In the passenger seat was a woman covering her face with a newspaper. All I could see was long blonde hair, and in the back seat was a baby in a car seat. Thomas immediately states that he's from the police and that we have to get in the car immediately as he has to talk to us. My brother actually took 2 steps towards the vehicle, but I stuck my arm in front of his chest as I was sensing something was off. The woman was still covering her face at this point, not saying a word. Thomas then raised his voice and told us once again to get in the car, or else he'd have to come out and get us. My brother and I froze out of fear. Suddenly, the woman put down the newspaper, showed her face, and told us in the calmest, motherly voice to just listen to the man. The woman looked young and pretty and like a person who wouldn't hurt a fly. At this moment, I began screaming as loud as I could. That's what my mom always told me, like, if I was off by myself and someone came up to me and started, like, trying to talk to me, to just scream bloody murder. What we hadn't seen at that point was that my dad was already running as fast as he could towards us. He was coming from behind the vehicle, so we didn't see it. My parents didn't have time to drive to us since the road down the parking lot was twisted all the way. When my dad heard my scream, he started yelling as loud as he could, "Hey, who the fuck are you? Get the fuck away from my children." As soon as Thomas heard my dad and realized my brother and I weren't alone, he threw his car into gear and took off as fast as he could. He most definitely looked like he shat himself when he saw my dad. My dad was furious and told my brother and I to hurry up back to the car. He didn't even think about calling the police at that point. He wanted to beat the guy up himself. That resulted in us driving around for the next hour trying to find him before my dad cooled down and decided that he should probably just call the police. We never found out who these people were, but this episode taught me to never judge a book by its cover. People can be the friendliest looking people in the world and still wish evil upon you or the ones that you love. I'm not sure what these people would have done to us. I am sure about one thing though, they definitely weren't from the police. The next one is called Don't Hook Up with the Waiter. Sorry in advance, I was drunk most of the time during what happened, so I don't remember every detail. When I was 18 and freshly broken up with my way older boyfriend, I basically went crazy with dating guys. At the time, I also dressed very goth, even going as far as to wear a real corset and trench coat, mostly just enjoying the attention. One particular afternoon, my friend/roommate at the time decided to eat at a local Japanese restaurant, with both of us all dressed up. Our waiter was a mediocre, skinny white guy who clearly was a little alternative, but it was hard to tell with the uniform. We joked about me leaving my phone number on the receipt or something, so I hyped myself up and did so. Late that night, he had sent me a text. We talked for a few days, never really having a right time to meet up as I worked 40 minutes away from where I lived. He mentioned the boots he wore meant a lot to him and some other odd things that just seemed like edgy jokes. One really late night, coming home, I was texting and driving, as any 18-year-old does, and we decided to meet up. My stupid self invited him over to my apartment where it was just me and the roommate who had been with me before. Our other 2 roommates were not home. At first it was fine because I was already drunk, so I would just let him rant about whatever he wanted. He went on about his life, going to jail, red flag, jail, red flag, medical bills, his parents, etc. Eventually he asked me if I wanted to see his tattoos, and I was like, okay. He lifted up his shirt, and not only could I see the handgun tucked in his waistband, but also his multiple badly covered up Nazi tattoos. Bright red flag. Red, so red. Flashing red flag. One was even slightly covered up with a banana. I don't know what it was, but I simply decided the best way to deal with this situation was to appease him. So I went along with it casually. What? I don't remember exactly every detail because it was over 2 years ago and I was drunk, but he ended up pulling his gun out and putting it to my head, asking me if I was scared. I was immensely confused and tried to call his bluff, saying I wasn't, which got him to put it away for a while. When we went to hook up, you're gonna hook up with this guy. When we went to hook up in my messy ass room, he pulled it on me again, saying he wanted to do it with it out. I got mad and tried to fight him off me and get it away from my head. Of course, I wasn't as strong as him, and he hit me in the arm with it, which that shit hurt because it was a nice one. When I finally got him off me and he realized I was pissed, not scared, he started acting like a crackhead, saying I was crazy for not caring about him pulling a gun on me. What kind of a fucking sociopath is this waiter, dude? What is happening right now? He ran off, jumping the fence of the apartment complex and not even taking his car that he had come in. In the morning, his car was gone and I had a large bruise from where he had hit me. Well, to me, it's a funny story. Funny. I now realize how bad it could have ended up. Yeah, dude, no, that's not funny at all. So to the waiter from the Japanese restaurant, let's not meet. What the fuck? No, this... No. This guy is a piece of shit. And shouldn't be going on dates with anyone. The last story I'm gonna read for now is called Chased by a Man with a Knife. So we went for a hike with my boyfriend for his birthday today. We're not very superstitious people, but we were quite anxious the whole time. We didn't meet anyone on the road and I was feeling weird. Like I was thinking, I know we're going to meet someone, but that someone, I wasn't chill about it. My boyfriend was a bit nervous, which is unusual for him as he's very used to hiking pretty much anywhere. Alright, so we're 4+ hours into the hike. 4+ hours. And we reached almost the end. There was some sort of cabin in the forest and a guy looking like Tom Hanks in Castaway, I swear to God, was there. He jumped out of his cabin naked. Why are they always naked? Why you gotta be naked? He jumped out of his cabin naked with a knife and began to make grunting sounds. I told my boyfriend he has a knife, and the guy starts to chase us. Of course he does. Of course the naked man with a knife chased you. My boyfriend told me to run. Go. I tried to do my best as I'm not the sportiest girl. I believe I fell a few times because I have a lot of scratches and a bump on the shin, but I didn't feel it at that moment. After what felt like running forever to escape him, we succeeded to find a way out to a neighborhood and then a road. We felt so much relief at that moment. My question is, we were in shock and pretty traumatized by it. Do you feel like it's a serious serious event, or is it not that big of a deal? What do you mean by that? I know that it might sound stupid to ask, but we don't know anymore. Maybe we're overreacting? No. Oh, you're definitely not overreacting. What the fuck? People don't get chased by naked men with knives every day, okay? That's traumatizing. We did report him to the police, by the way. Okay, good. That's really good. Jeez Louise, please watch out for crazy ass people like this. Be vigilant, be safe. Tonight I actually went out for a walk to walk my dog and so she could go to the bathroom, and as we were walking down the sidewalk, this guy on a bike rode like right by us, and my dog, she's a little unpredictable. Like sometimes people will walk by or whatever and she'll be perfectly fine, like she'll just ignore them. But then other times she will like lunge and like start growling and shit. And that's what she did to this guy on the bike when he rode by us. I had her on a leash, so I had it under control. Like I was holding her back, but she was lunging and like growling super aggressively. I mean, like, didn't even touch him, didn't get near him or anything. It must have startled him a little bit, but it didn't like knock him over or anything. Like she didn't touch him at all. We were a good distance away, but he like stopped. Like he rode a little further and then stopped and then like turned around slowly and circled back to us, and I was like, oh my god. And I was just holding my dog as like close to me and like really tight so she could run off. She kept growling and I'm just like holding her and I'm frozen because I'm like, oh my god, is he gonna try to like hurt me or my dog? I probably looked like this. I was just frozen, and then he like started coming over to us, and then he like mumbled something, got back on his bike and like rode away. But holy shit, like I thought he was going to try to hurt us or something. I don't know. Also, my dog she's like medium sized, but she can be pretty vicious if she doesn't like someone or she feels threatened or something. She can be pretty scary actually, so I know she wouldn't have let anything happen to me. I fucking love that dog. She is my baby. But yeah, that was really scary, and I'm glad he didn't try to do anything, and I'm glad he just rode away. But for a minute there, I was terrified. But anyway, I know it's been a while since I did my last video. Like I said, my past couple weekends have been insane. Yeah, so I wanted to get a video out for you guys. Love y'all, as usual.